Hi, I'm Mandy Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Cancer for August 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, check out my blog, and if you would love to have a more visceral understanding of astrology for your own purposes or to do it professionally, check out my astrology apprenticeship program. You can also check out my coach certification and online business course while you're on my site. So what's going on in the month of August? We have some very profound changes in store. The eclipses, very powerful eclipses coming through, bringing changes. I want to talk about the sectors of life that Cancer placements are likely to see these changes. I also want to talk about the general implications of the Leo-Aquarius eclipse cycle, as well as some transits, other additional transits that you will no doubt be feeling this month. So, when we have an eclipse cycle, the lunar eclipses eclipse things out. They close things, they bring things to a often dramatic conclusion, and then the solar eclipses bring new energy. The universal law that energy is not created nor destroyed, it simply changes form, is very dynamically and very obviously at play during this time, because we see major parts of life just closed out as an experience, and then new major things just opened up. And people will experience these differently depending on how they're hitting and what angles they're hitting in their personal charts. But we can at least talk about the sectors of experience that are likely to occur for Cancer placements. In the July report, I talked about how you can think back to 2008, 2009 and see what areas of your life were affected at that point, because that is when the last Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle occurred. So there's likely going to be some common themes that went on. I have had some people ask me, does that mean we're going to have another market crash? And I don't think so. No doubt there'll always be market corrections as need to be, but I think the predominant experience of the market crash had to do with Pluto moving into Capricorn. And the eclipse cycle that was occurring at the same time fed into some other, brought in some other themes that will continue, including restructuring of large organizations and people questioning whether they should put their faith in societal norms and sort of finding their own way, their own passion, their own purpose, rather than what people are telling them to do. I think that some things brought up at that time are definitely going to be coming back with their resurgence as a major thing now, but not necessarily related to the actual major breakdown of the systems. Obviously, Pluto being in Capricorn is completely restructuring those systems as they need to be restructured, but that is an ongoing process over quite a bit of time still. Okay, so the lunar eclipse occurring on August 7th is going to bring closure, fruition, completion, drama, endings, accomplishment to the energies of partnership. Okay, so the early and middle degree placements will have this more in their 8th house. The later degree placements will have this more in the 7th house. 7th and 8th houses are both partnership houses. So something closing, something ending with how you're relating within an arrangement or an agreement with someone else. Some people will end a financial agreement with someone they borrowed money from. Some people will be going through divorce and will be separating out their finances. Some people will close a business in favor of doing something else, an individual venture, something like that. But that, definitely the relationship sector is what's going to be very much focused on as far as a chapter ending. Some people will just actually have a relationship completely end and leave their lives. But many other people will stay in their same relationships, and a chapter of the way they related to one another will be what's closing. So this closure can happen on many different levels. The opening is occurring depending on your placement. The early degree placements are going to be having this opening in the 3rd house, while the middle and late degree placements are more likely to have this opening in their 2nd house. So a predominant experience, more Cancers are going to experience this new opening in their house of finances. So new individual income stream, new way of making money, increase in making money, raises, stepping into a different experience with their finances, a reevaluation of their values. I talk about money a lot because this is a common thing that comes up as people ask for astrological guidance. There are a lot of different ways to have more money and have more abundance. One of them is to just make more money, and that is very likely for many Cancer placements that you'll see more money coming in. Another way to have more money is to spend less money. And that's another thing, because it has to do with this restructuring of your value system. If all of it, like let's say there's a person, and I don't have any judgment on what this looks like. I think that we're here to have our own personal experience, and that can be a very wide range of experiences. But here's one example. Let's say right now you value spending $150 on a purse, and that means you need the $150 for a purse, and then you get it and you have a purse and you like it, and that's fine. Well, some people who are focused on that realm are going to decide, wow, if I don't spend $150 on a purse, I don't have to do the work to make the money to get the purse, then I have all of that time and those resources that I can put into something else, this changing value system. Or it could be the other way around. It could be that people have been living very simply without a lot of luxury, and they can decide, now I want to step it up and have more luxuries in life. There's a reshuffling of values that are going on as it relates to Cancer placements because of this second house focus. The early degree placements, while they may also experience some of this second house opening that we talked about, there's also a strong chance for an opening occurring in the third house. The third house has to do with writing projects, editing projects, blogs, etc., communicating in some way. It also can have to do with traveling more for business or for pleasure, like an increase in mobility or busyness or moving around. It could be a project with a sibling or a relative, not a parent or child, usually with the third house. It could also be a new car, new devices, upgrading transportation or communication systems. If you have a choice to upgrade these systems, even though the eclipses are happening in August, I don't think August is the best time to purposely buy these new systems because Mercury is going to be in retrograde. So if you start shopping for things and looking for what you want to buy, like let's say you want to buy a new car, let's say you want to buy a new computer, this is a really good time to be thinking about that, but the better time to actually do it would be more towards the end of September. I like September 20th and after, when you're out of the Mercury shadow and you can do your research and then strike towards the end of the month. And you're still well within eclipse manifestation time, because even though the solar eclipse is happening on August 21st, we can often feel the energy many weeks later. 4 to 6 weeks later can be the manifestation time. And then we're moving along a continuum through 2019, so you're moving through this time where you're upgrading your communication. And that's specifically like how you talk to people. I think that there's a massive amount of violence woven into our language. And so it might be that you're starting to realize that the way people say things to you or the way you say things to people actually have, the study of semantics goes very deep into this, basically about how words affect the nervous system. So an increasing awareness of semantics could be coming with this placement, and then a movement away from certain types of communication styles. So those are all things that I see for the Cancer placements this month. So now I want to talk about some more general ways this Leo and Aquarius polarity could show up, and also some other transits that you'll no doubt be feeling. So the eclipses definitely dominate the astrological scene for August for all signs, but there are other aspects that I want to talk about that will affect you as well, and this will affect all signs. Right from the beginning, we've got Jupiter in Libra square Pluto in Capricorn. This is the third time that this has happened. The first time was November 24th of 2016. The second pass was March 30th of 2017. And here on August 4th, we have the final chapter. So this has been an ongoing saga having to do with the challenges of connecting with people in order to bring about something into the world. Jupiter in Libra has to do with relationships. Pluto in Capricorn has to do with business and things in the outer view, the public eye. And a square is a conflicted angle. So that means there's something to push through in order to get to the outcome. So the impetus lies in the aspect and also the blocks, so that's what brings the frustration, is that there's this pressure to join together and get something out into the world, but then the blocks and the challenges are also wrapped up in the transit. So there should be some resolution, some final conclusion here. One of the pieces is going to have to have to do with competition. You know, whenever we subscribe to the third dimensional belief in competition, there always creates this hamster wheel angst that you never really get out of. But one of my favorite teachers, Florence Scovel Shinn, always says, or said, as I read her work, she's passed now a long time ago, there's no competition on the spiritual planes. And that's true. Infinite Spirit has a purpose for us that only we can fill. And you can take marketing data into consideration, you know, you can take third dimensional realities into consideration, but ultimately what you do in this world has to do with you and Infinite Spirit and your purpose. So the more you can ease into that higher vibrational view of this, whatever you're merging together to do to bring out into the world, you're going to have a much better experience and much better outcomes. So even though I give you the dates of these transits, remember that you can always have the possibility to feel the energies in a manifestation before or after that date. Okay, so don't hang your hat too heavily on the dates that I give you. So, also important to note that I am giving you information about specific transits, as I always do, but you can get a more detailed write-up of the general transits that affect everyone when you sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. I send out a month early a written version of the summary of the energy of the month ahead, along with some highlights. If you have signed up for my newsletter already and you're not getting it, I send it out every month early, like clockwork, usually a month early. So if you're not getting it, it's probably going into social promotions, events folder or something like that. So check in there, spam, check in there and move it back into your inbox so that you can get them in a timely basis. Okay, so we talked about the eclipses at length as far as the individual effects for the signs, but we do have general effects for the eclipses as well. The first one is on August 7th. It's a full moon lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Aquarius. We're moving along this continuum that started at the beginning of 2017 that has to do with a reshuffling of energy in the arenas of large organizations, humanitarian efforts, internet-based projects, teams, groups, friendships, circles, you know, whatever kind of circles you find yourself in. That's all Aquarius. So some sort of reshuffling of energy. Some people will be focusing more in those realms, and some people will be focusing more on their own individual desires against the societal norms, which we'll talk about when we get over to the solar eclipse for later in the month. But this lunar eclipse is coming packing a lot of punch because the event also opposes Mars, which increases the likelihood of some sort of conflicted ending or a conflicted completion. Full moon eclipses tend to bring lots of drama, lots of emotion, and some sort of culmination, you know, an ending or something coming to fruition. But with that aspect with Mars, it could be a conflicted ending. There's also a simultaneous nice aspect with Saturn that could bring very positive and strong foundation for present and future security. And there's an additional trine with Jupiter. Anything having to do with a wonderful aspect with Jupiter always is going to bring more enthusiasm, more hope, more faith, and expanded outcomes. So we've got some sweet aspects on the 10th and 11th and 12th. Then on the 12th and 13th, depending on which time zone you're in, Mercury is going to go into retrograde, and that will be at 11 degrees of Virgo. Mercury goes retrograde 3 or 4 times a year. So we really spend half of our lives in one part of the retrograde transit, either the shadow period that occurs before or the shadow period that occurs after or the actual retrograde. You can look at my video called Mercury Retrograde if you do a search for Annie Botticelli, Mercury Retrograde. I talk about the do's and don'ts and the understandings that it's important to carry. But basically, a lot of pressure is put on weak links that already exist with communication devices, mobility, transportation devices. So any weak links that are there are going to be turned up, you know, so old things that were swept under the rug as far as communication often just blow right out to be dealt with. And often things, people, ideas from the past roll in now for reconsideration. It's not always the best time to make the long-term decision if you can help it. So even though these eclipses and retrograde are going to bring some things right into the forefront, if you can wait until later into September, like at least mid to end September to really commit to a longer term situation, that would be better because you're not going to have all the information. Okay, so we've got a nice aspect with the Sun and Saturn on August 13th, that where your desires receive enthusiastic support. The 15th, we've got, and actually there's another aspect with Venus on the 24th. So there are two challenging aspects with Venus this month, the 15th and the 24th, that are going to bring, some tension, either with self-esteem, aesthetics, appearance, romance, your relationships in general of any kind, or money. So there's pressure put on Venus this month, and you'll see that come up in little or big ways. Then we have a nice aspect on August 20th with the Sun trining Uranus. So sometimes sudden insights and exhilarating awarenesses or experiences could come in with that. On the 21st, we've got this very powerful new moon solar eclipse at almost 29 degrees of Leo. So this is the second new moon in Leo that we have, which adds a lot of power. Also, new moon solar eclipses are like new openings in triplicate, just as full moons are closings, endings, drama, conclusions, 3 times as powerful as a regular full moon. The new moon eclipses have the opening energies and the new energies 3 times that of a regular new moon. And this is a beautiful new moon. We've got a beautiful aspect with Uranus, which brings, more surprises, happy surprises. Then we have a beautiful aspect with Saturn, which brings, again, this long-term stable factor, which seems to be a theme this month, like certain things starting to click in for future security. And so when you have a solar eclipse, it's an opening. And when you have a solar eclipse in Leo, it has to do with openings in creativity, so anything having to do with children. But for some people, their creative projects are their children. So whether you're conceiving a child or conceiving a creative idea, that process of conception to pregnancy to birth to child or project rearing is all dominated by Leo. So there's going to be lots of new openings there. And for people who already have children, new experiences and, dimensions of parenting. There's also energy associated with athleticism, acting, modeling, directing, fun hobbies, true love. Many, many, many people are going to enter new dimensions of romance with this aspect, which is really exciting. So we've got that on the 21st, and on the 22nd, we have Mars in Leo trining Saturn and Sag. And again, this is a nice boost where action and outcomes blend beautifully. We've got a nice aspect on August 23rd to the 24th with Venus and Chiron, which shows that when we do emotional inner work, in those places where we're wounded, it brings positive gains. On the 24th, so simultaneously with this nice aspect with Chiron, we have a square with Uranus. I alluded to this earlier when I talked about the difficult aspect with Venus on the 15th. When Venus squares Uranus, the bringer of change in a feisty expression in Aries, makes an uncomfortable angle to love, money, and aesthetics. So there's many ways that can look, So definitely having the Venus in Cancer is going to promise emotional jostling from this unpredictable Uranus energy. August 25th, Saturn goes direct at 21 degrees of Sag. This officially ends the break that we've had as Saturn was in retrograde. Saturn is a chop buster. That's what I always call Saturn. Saturn wants discipline, it's a taskmaster, and it wants organization and it wants hard work. And that type of energy doesn't blend well with Sagittarius, the sign that it's in, because Sag is all about free flowing and, not being consistent and all the things that we love about Sagittarius don't mix well with the energy of Saturn. So we've had a break from Saturn kind of forcing us to take these big Sag ideals and dreams and do the hard work, consistent work for bringing those dreams down into the third dimension. We've had a little break from that, but now the break is over. So for the rest of the year, we're going to have to get our nose back to the grindstone and take the daily steps to bringing the dreams into fruition. So, when Saturn moves through Sag, it's also a serious faith tester, so we've got the rest of the year for Saturn to sort of weigh heavy on faith, but the more you can stay connected to faith throughout this Saturn transit, the better it will be. And then we end off with a nice aspect with the Sun and Mercury, but that can also mean some powerful criticism, you know, the same aspects that can be something positive, like some bright news, you know, when the Sun and Mercury join together, they enhance each other's qualities. There could be some powerful news that comes in, but Virgo is also really critical. So there could be some harsh criticism that comes in too. So just keep your head up with that. So if you would love to have astrology, to learn astrology in a visceral way, a way that helps you to blend more naturally with the planetary rhythms, then maybe you'll love to take my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see more about it on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Click on work with me. Whether you want to use astrology for your own personal developments or to help your friends and family and yourself to understand karmic patterns, understand what your highest expression is in this lifetime and how you overcome the karmic patterns to step into that, even if you want to do it professionally, then check out my astrology apprenticeship program. If you'd like to be a coach, a wellness coach, a business coach, a spiritual coach of any kind, helping people to reach their goals, then maybe you will love my coach course, which is also enrolling. And that's also combined with my online business course so that you can help create a presence online and develop your coaching business for an online basis. So check that out, anniehelpsyou.com. Also check out my husband B.R. Newman's new tarot reports for each sign. You can look him up, B.R. Newman, Neumann. IamHelios.com is his website. So you can see what he says about your sign as far as the tarot report, and then that supplements what I've just shared with you. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.